Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Talk About It Tuesday, where we talk about the arts and the people who love them. My name is Alexandra Zadek, and I am your host again for this lovely Tuesday evening, morning, afternoon, whichever one you're watching. I am joined today by the amazing, the talented, the very, very funny Mike Valdez.
Hello.
Hello. How are you today?
I'm doing well. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. It's really exciting. So we recently worked with Mike on one of our corporate team building events, and we just had to have him on the show. So Mike, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Mike Valdez. I am a all-around performer, essentially. So I am a actor. I am a singer-songwriter. I'm a stand-up comedian, an improviser, a writer, all kinds of stuff. Anything that involving the arts. I, except for actual painting, I'm pretty semi okay at a little bit of everything. So I try to dabble at a little bit of everything, and I do all of them professionally to some degree as well.
That's awesome. That's like a Renaissance kind of thing.
Yeah,
Of
Renaissance
art.
person. Yeah.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So when did you start getting interested in the arts or in general?
That's a great question. Probably when I was really young.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was really young, was in, I had a lot of energy. I was very loud. And so I was always in a lot of the church plays, the school plays, things like that. And I just remember really liking the attention. And because I was an only child, and I guess wasn't really I wasn't really getting the attention at home that I wanted or anything, because majority of the time I was always being very loud and trying to get attention, but I always remember being shut down by my family.
Mm-hmm.
Like being like, hey, stop screaming, like stop doing this, like get off of the couch, stop setting things on fire, stop
Right, of
doing
course.
this. This was the first time where I was like, oh, within the confines of this stage, I can do whatever I want, and this entire crowd of strangers loves me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it became this thing that I just started loving, and then after a while, I started realizing that you could make that a career, I guess, because I talk about this quite a bit, actually, because I'm fascinated by childhood and by people's childhood and what they thought when they were kids and things like that. And when I was a kid, my imagination was so vast, and I was constantly changing my mind about everything
Yeah.
because I wanted to do and be everything. I wanted to be the president, and then I was like, no, I want to be an astronaut. No, I want to be a lawyer. No, I want to be a superhero. No, I want to be a dinosaur. Like, I want to be everything. And then I came to this realization where I was like, if I'm an actor, I can be everything. And so yeah, that was like the first like realization where I wanted to become an actor. And that was like maybe 10 or 11 years old. And then
Wow.
at about like towards like middle school age, when like real feelings started setting in, music started hitting my life, and heartbreak started hitting my life, and just listening to a lot of Dashboard Confessional, and a lot of those Warped Tour bands, and
Yeah.
whoever, the whoever Phoebe Bridgers is now, back then, still listen to Phoebe Bridgers now, so because that's just where my heart is.
Yeah.
And so started, and basically found a love for music through that. And yeah, just I just all kinds of art has always been like, I've always loved all kinds of art.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. So you currently you're doing a lot of stand up, right?
Yes. Yes.
So how did you fall into the stand up life?
Okay. Well, I actually fell into stand up by accident. The way that I always tell people this is that stand up actually found me. I
Yeah.
didn't find stand up because stand up was always something that people told me that I would be good at, but I never thought I was good enough for because
Mhm.
I was always such a fan of it. I was always like, and you might actually relate to this because when you love something, especially as like when you have that nerd mentality, and I think everybody has a nerd mentality regardless of whether you like sports or whether you like Dungeons and Dragons, you're still the
Mhm.
freaking nerd. Like
Yeah.
it's all the same thing. If you paint your face and you have somebody's number on the back of your shirt, you're a nerd. Like that's just what it is. And so you know when you love something so much, I was just so enamored with it. I could say this about almost all art. I get so enamored with it that the only thing that I could possibly do to be more enamored with it is to do it.
Yeah.
And so um and because like that's how I was with movies. Like I was obsessed with movies. I was obsessed with TV. I was obsessed
Mhm.
with all that stuff. And then I was like, but what if I'm like in the TV, you know?
Yeah.
And so kind of the same thing with music, and the same with stand up. But stand up came more at a later age. It came like towards like my early like to mid 20s when that
Mhm.
happened. And so I was in Los Angeles at the time. I had just moved at Thanksgiving week, actually, around this time when we're recording this right now. I went to a showcase where I performed a monologue, a comedic monologue, and a manager had a meeting with me, and she was like, you need to take improv classes, so you can keep your acting blade sharp. And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, great. Which I wasn't opposed to it. I really wanted to do it, but I couldn't afford improv classes because they were $800, you
Yeah.
know? And so I called her and I said, well, is it okay if I just do stand up because I can do open mics for free? And
Mhm.
so she was like, I don't care what you do. As long as you're up there keeping your acting blade sharp, I can care less what you're doing. As
Mhm.
long as you're performing, and you're just getting better. I started doing stand up because it was free.
Yeah.
And then I fell in love with it because of that. I also felt like if this makes any sense, I felt like I had to do it because I had no choice, you
Okay.
know?
Yeah.
So that's why I did it. If I didn't feel like I didn't have a choice, I
Mhm.
would have never done it,
Yeah.
And so it was just like, well, Mike, you literally have no other option here.
Yeah.
It is either you do this or you just sit here and twiddle your thumbs.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, you came to Los Angeles to work. You came
Mhm.
here to get hired, and to do your thing. And that's why you're here. So I did everything that I possibly could to make sure that happened. And so that's why I fell into it. And now part of it is because I love it, and it's a smaller percentage, but the other part of it is just because it's a habit, you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. No,
you
it
know?
makes sense. I mean, like doing things out of necessity, but then like you fall in love with it because you like had a love for it, but you
Yeah,
weren't like gonna. I mean, like in joking, I never thought we were gonna do YouTube videos. It
right.
was like something we would always talk about, talk about, talk about. Okay, talk about. Once we hit COVID, it was like we couldn't do what we normally did on a day-to-day basis. So then it became a necessity, and it became a necessity for me to learn video editing all over again, because I hadn't done that since high school. When you're performing too, like whether it be through, because I know you have experience in improv as well.
Yeah.
So when you're performing just in general, what's like the overall feeling that emits from you?
So right before on stage, it's complete and utter anxiety.
Yeah.
Okay. And then when I'm on stage, and then I get the first laugh, it's a sense of relief, and then a sense of, this is what you were supposed to do. This is why you're here. And then after is the euphoria. Right. Because the thing is, a lot of people talk about the euphoria of performing. I don't feel the euphoria while I'm performing. I feel it after. I
agree with you. Yeah, I agree.
I feel it after, because then I'm like, which is pretty horrible when you think about it. At least for me, it's pretty horrible, because then it just proves at least how egotistical you are, because you're just like, man, I was awesome. You know what I mean? Like,
well, for us, I mean, like, I don't know if you've gotten it. So sure. we used to work at a bar, and afterwards, you know, during, you're like, oh man, I got to deal with all these people, because it wasn't like a set stage. It was on the floor. And then the thing separating us from the audience was the fact that they were sitting in tables, you know?
Yeah.
And they always felt, I think the best feeling while on stage was that they felt like they could interact with us. And that was like, okay, great, broke that boundary. Awesome. But, you know, during the show, you're constantly thinking about, okay, well, we've got this game next, we've got this, have to take care of this, all that stuff, whatever. And then afterwards, people come up to us, and we weren't expecting that at first. We were like, okay, we're done with the show, we'll just like clean up and sit, have a meal or something. But then people would come up to us regularly and say, oh, hey, that was really cool, that was great. And I think it's the feedback that makes me go, oh, okay, cool, like that was awesome. Which I also think comes from, like, we started out with script acting.
Okay.
So I think that's why we need like that affirmation of like, you did good, kid, kind of thing.
Yeah, I have this thing, I call it show mode. Yeah. And I don't even see people when I'm in show mode. Oh yeah. I can be in show mode and look out into the audience and see someone that was my best friend in 7th grade. Yeah. And not even know that it's them until the end of the show. You know, I'll tell you a story, because that's what this whole podcast is about. Yeah. And so I was lucky enough to be a part of a Jonas Brothers video a couple of years ago. And I did this video, and the director was telling me a few things to do. Now, a lot of things, because it was a really big production, there was like a dolly, there was a crane, there was a whole bunch of different things. And I was playing a pool boy at a pool, essentially at like a senior center. And I needed to be choreographed to make sure that I didn't get hit by the crane or by cameras. Because if I would get injured and possibly either thrown in the pool or hurt. Like, I would get hit in the head and probably concussed or something. So they're teaching me, all these things. They're like, okay, here's your one. The crane is going to come here. You're going to put your legs over the crane. This is going to happen. It's going to go underneath you. This is going to be your 2. This is going to be, all this stuff. So I'm remembering all that stuff. But also, you also need to remember there's also a camera that's completely on you, that is not on the cranes or anything. It's completely on you. And you need to be reacting and doing your thing, because, you might possibly be, you need to be funny or whatever.
Yeah.
So I'm doing my thing, and everything's going great. This is maybe like the second take, and the director is loving it. Everybody's loving what I'm doing. And then they're just like, all right, great. Let's take a real quick break. And I'm just I'm in the shade because it's Florida and it's 1,000 degrees outside. And so I'm in the shade, and this woman comes up to me this blonde woman comes up to me and she says, and she goes, "Hey, you're doing a really great job. You're very funny." And I said, "Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate that." And then I just moved on with my day, and I kept going. And it took me 2.5 hours to realize that that was Sophie Turner. I had no idea.
Yeah, you don't because who has the time while they're working to focus on that kind of stuff?
Yeah, she was literally right next to me. She tapped me on my shoulder. She was closer to me than most people will ever get to Sophie Turner. and and I did not even know.
You know what's weird though? I'm sure she appreciated the fact that you were like, "Oh my God, Sophie Turner! You think I'm funny?"
Of course, yeah. Okay, I was gonna say not to name drop, but I'm just gonna name drop. Whatever. I was lucky enough to do a pilot while I was in Los Angeles with the star of it was Courtney Cox, and I basically, it's a really long story, but I basically mistaked my way like into getting like a bigger part than I had. You know, I was an extra, and I thought that I was getting fired. And you know, long story short, they actually ended up really liking what I was doing, and they wrote another part for me. And you know, she was actually extremely cool. But I was never like, "Oh my God, it's Monica." Because, and here's the thing, I'm not a Friends person, you know, and that's kind of why, you know what I mean? Like, to me, she's just the girl from Ace Ventura, you know? So, you know, and of course, not to mention, you know, I'm also the type of person that's like, you know, my day job while I was in Los Angeles was to work. I worked at the UPS store on Hollywood Boulevard. So I saw celebrities all day, every day. And my boss, the first thing my boss told me was like, "Listen, they piss and shit just like you do. You're going to treat them exactly as anyone else, because the moment you treat them like they're a celebrity, that's a customer." And we just lost a customer because of that. You know, so if that means you have to pretend that you don't know who they are, pretend you don't know who they are, you know? And so that's what I did. That's what I would always do. It's funny how, like, you know, you have that, you have to put yourself in that weird work mode, you know?
Yeah. When you are doing, because you do music as well, right? So like what kind of music do you do?
It is, I would basically call it alternative pop.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. Cool. So is it that you write your own stuff, or do you just perform? Okay, awesome. So where do you find inspiration for your stuff?
Heartbreak. That's about it.
As most alt pop is.
Well, nobody wants to buy Adele's album that's called "Everything's Fine. How have you been?" You know what I mean? Like,
everything's going great.
Yeah, nobody wants to buy that album. Everybody wants to buy the album about her divorce.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's just, that's just the truth, you know? Like, as horrible as that sounds, you know, that's just what it is, you know? And, you know, I recently, I've recently been going through a breakup, and it's one of those things where, you know, there's so much inspiration that has been happening, and my creative juices have been flowing so much, but also there's like, it's just like so much, like it's just the, you know, of course there's a lot of pain, but it's also one of those things where, like, I told one of my buddies, like, I said, when listening to music when you're heartbroken makes you realize why music exists.
Yeah.
Because you're just like, now I understand music. Like, I listened, like, not that music was bad before, you know, like, music is fine, you know, but when you're really feeling what that person is saying, it just hits different.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, something Like, for example, there's a song called by Louis Capaldi called "Someone You Loved,"
Yes.
and it's a song that I think that anybody who's ever felt anything at all can relate to, you know. But when you're specifically going through a heartbreak, it really, really, like, you just like it, because before, like, if it makes any sense, when I heard it before, I was always like, man, I love that song, but the way that he sings it, it almost makes you want to say, like, to the radio, like, who hurt you, you
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, it almost makes you want
Yeah.
to do that. But when you have your heart broken, you want to say to the radio, I get it, I'm there too, like, I get it, dude, you know.
Mhm.
And there's just a difference, there's a complete difference
Yeah.
in those things. And so yeah, it's basically that kind of stuff. I have an album that's out on Spotify, Apple Music, on all that stuff. My band is called Mike Valdez and the Noise, and the album is called Dreamer, and it's not necessarily a concept album by in theme, but it's a concept album sonically. So when you listen to it, it's all one complete thought. So each song kind of works as its own single, but then when you listen to it together, you're like, okay, I get what
Like
he's
the
trying to
story
say.
of it.
Yeah, I get what he's trying to say. That kind of thing. And so yeah, that came out maybe like 5 years ago. I'm trying to do something, completely different now. More like alt, 1975-ish,
Mhm.
very, very like dancey disco type of stuff, but also, still having that piano rock kind of thought, because
Yeah.
that's essentially what I do, is piano rock. So
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, 100%. But I agree with you on how it's like, I remember the songs that I listened to in high school that I listen to now that have completely different feelings
right.
of that. I never thought I would relate to Phil Collins in any
Sure.
way, shape, or form. But now
Right.
I listen to him almost all the time and I'm like, yeah, dude, I need a hug too.
Isn't it funny how it's not funny, it's just beautiful how music is a time machine,
Oh yeah.
because it can just transport you to an exact feeling that you had when
Mhm.
you were in 7th grade,
Yeah.
and you're just like, man, like, this is the song I remember making out with freaking Katie at the Cinemark or whatever,
Right.
like.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, exactly. It's like specific songs have specific memories, just like smells, like you
Yeah,
smell something
smells too.
and you just like go back to it. The other day, we found a soap shop at a flea market, and I
Yeah,
was like, why does this make me think of my Tia's house? Like, what is
right.
happening? And then my mom goes, it's the baby powder. This is why it makes it. And I was like,
Yeah,
oh, okay. So,
it's the
so
violetas.
it's the yeah. So I'm gonna play a quick game with you now
Awesome.
called Taco Questions.
Okay.
Okay, taco choices, taco questions. We keep going back and forth, but it's fine. Hard shell or soft shell?
Let's do soft.
Okay. Would you put rice in your taco? Yes or no?
No,
Okay. Um.
I'm not a carb on carb guy.
Okay. All right. Interesting. Would you go for like meats or fishes or veggie?
I it depends on how I'm feeling, because I like all three.
Okay. Sick.
I
Nice.
like I like all three, and also, who's to say that you can't also put vegetables if you're putting fish in it, or meat?
Very true. Spicy, mild, or plain?
Probably a mild, just because, when you get older, you get acid reflux. I'd like to have the spicy stuff, but I just don't need that in my life right now. You know?
Yes, agreed. Would you do sour cream guac or just like some salsa on top?
If I had to choose one, I would prefer sour cream. But if I could have whatever I want, I would do sour cream and guacamole.
Nice. Cool. And would you put like the shredded lettuce on top, or would you go for no lettuce or onion?
Why not? Let's put lettuce on it. Why not?
Nice. Sick. Okay, cool. Blasphemous question for the last one. Do you prefer burritos or tacos?
It really just depends.
Okay.
It really just
It's
depends.
like a mood kind of thing, right?
It's a mood type of thing. And also, if you're like, I have these, tacos from this place, but this burrito from this place. Or, for example, how about like if it was, I would rather have a breakfast burrito instead of a taco.
I see.
Right? But I'd rather have a taco instead of a Taco Bell burrito. You know what I mean? Completely. Like I'd rather have like real tacos from a taco shopping cart in Los Angeles. With like a 3'5" guy that made guacamole right in front of me. Right. You know what I mean? Exactly. And I paid 13 cents for it.
So thank you so much for playing Taco Choices.
Of course.
Questions. But the next question I have for you is another fun one.
Yes.
If I didn't know you at all, but I saw you walking down the street, what can't I tell just by looking at you?
So many things.
I know. This one always stumps people to pick.
So many. You saw me walking down the street. You'd probably think I was something in the arts. You'd be like, okay, he plays music or he's an actor or something, because he's, the way that he dresses. This I have actually heard people say this before. Okay. Based on how I look. You would never think that I have a complete vast knowledge about hip hop culture. I have I love hip hop. Like, I absolutely adore it. But it's just because I'm obsessed with music in general. Right. And so I like people will look at me and the way that I'm dressed and they're just like, how does he know so much about Outkast? And I'm just like, because they're awesome. I don't know. Yeah. I just love Outkast. Cool. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah, I have a friend that knows absolutely everything about Game of Thrones, and you just wouldn't see that coming from him. Yeah, from a mile away. Right. And he's just like, yeah, but did you know that these characters were originally supposed to be blue? Bet you didn't know that. And then he just like runs away with all these facts. Right. Advice would you give to someone who wants to go into like our magical, mystical world of the arts?
Yeah. Just stop. Just quit. Like, for the love of God, like, find something else to do with your life. It's just, you're not going to make any money, like, you're not going to make any money. Nobody's going to like you. Parents are going to think you're a failure. It's just going to be awful. And then to top it all off, the best part of your entire year is going to be on a Zoom conference on Talk About It Tuesday.
Sounds like quite a good year to me, not going to lie.
I'm completely kidding. I'm completely kidding.
Hear that, kids? Take it seriously.
No. The best advice that I can give you seriously is you don't fail, you just quit. So don't quit. Mm-hmm. That's it.
That's actually really good advice. That's very true. Yeah. It's very hard to fail in this industry,
Yeah, you can't fail if you don't quit.
Yeah. It's true. Never give up your dreams.
There you go.
What are ways that we can keep up with you?
There's so many ways. So you can keep up with me by going on my Instagram at Mike Valdez, MikeValdes. You can go to my Twitter at I am Mike Valdez. And also there's some link trees as to where you can find my music, my comedy clips, all that stuff. That's also where I post all of my shows. If I play with my band or if I do stand up or anything like that around the Florida area or elsewhere. Also, I have a podcast about childhood and about nostalgia. It's called Childlike at Best with Mike Valdez. That is available everywhere where you get your podcasts. And yeah, that's also on the link trees as well, if you forget any of those things. So
awesome. Yes. Everything will be linked down below in the description. So please make sure to check out all things involving Mike. Mike, I want to say a huge thank you to you for being on Talk About It Tuesday. This is really fun.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Thank you. So if you would like to get involved in the improv life and get a head start on that arts career that we all want to have, right? You can go to www.thisisimprov.com and take some classes. We offer classes for kids, teens, adults, corporate team building, and improv for life. If you would like to take a ghost tour, This Is Improv, yes, is so obsessed with history that we have ghost tours in our hometown. So you can go to, again, www.thisisimprov.com to sign up for your tours today, or go to www.thisistours.com and buy your tickets now. We have one a month so far. If you would like to listen to histories, mysteries, and ghost stories of Florida and the wacky, crazy world we live in, we have a podcast called This Is Legends of Yesterday. You can listen to that anywhere you listen to podcasts. Again, everything will be linked in the description below. Thank you so much, you beautiful creatures, for joining us on another episode of Talk About It Tuesday. Thank you again to Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody. Have some tacos today. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.